I've been reflecting on last week, and I've got to say it felt like I was living in a bit of a parallel universe. Now look, in my usual optimistic style, let me start with the positive part of that universe, which was definitely in Scotland last week. I started my journey in Edinburgh at the Investment Summit, a gathering of global investors, of course, and of people from several sectors: financial services, life sciences, and I was representing renewable energy. And it was a real marked change of mood to a similar conference that I'd been at just a year ago, really showing that in the UK we are creating the confidence for people to come and invest in our renewable energy sector and projects. I went on to Aberdeen. Now, in Aberdeen, the mood is more difficult, and understandably so, because we haven't quite managed to get the new projects of carbon capture, floating offshore wind, fixed bottom offshore wind. We haven't got some of these off the ground fast enough, so the supply chains are not getting the orders from oil and gas and not being given the opportunity to transition into the renewable projects fast enough. So we need to provide more time and space, which I'm very supportive of. But I don't speak to anybody in the oil and gas sector that doesn't believe or want the future to be renewable energy technologies. Indeed, we have to make Aberdeen and the northeast of Scotland the energy capital for renewable energy for the UK, for Europe and globally, just like it was for oil and gas. And we only do that by really focusing on accelerating the journey to some of these new projects. And what I'm saying is very much being borne out by global statistics. Bloomberg reported that in the first 6 months of this year across Europe there was a staggering 48 billion, the highest ever amount invested in on and offshore wind technologies across Europe. The UK, of course, part of that. China and India, for the first time in first 6 months of this year, their fossil fuel energy production has been on a decline and their renewable energy is on a massive incline. These technologies are now mainstream, and those people living in this other parallel universe I describe are talking about this renewable energy sector as if it's still waiting to happen, whereas it clearly isn't. It's accelerating at one heck of a pace. And I ask myself, why is it? And of course, I'd love it to be the fact that everybody is just focused on climate action. And look, that's fundamentally important. But there is another reason. And the other reason is that this technology, these technologies, make commercial sense. The investors in Edinburgh were there because they can get a commercial return from investing in these great technologies. And politically, it makes so much sense for energy security and for driving economic growth. In the UK, we now have 273,000 people working in the clean energy sectors, and we have an opportunity to make that tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands more, if we get some of these new technologies, especially like floating offshore wind and carbon capture, and ultimately if we do get this energy transition right. Now look, in this other parallel universe that I was describing, there was people last week talking about scrapping the Climate Change Act, an act that was created by business, NGOs and politicians working together. It was heavily scrutinised. It has been the backbone of driving the progress that I have described, and it just makes no sense to scrap it. I'm not being political here, I'm apolitical. I've supported parties of all colours in driving the green industrial revolution, something I feel passionate about. But my call here is for businesses that, like me, believe that we've got to keep doing the right thing for all of the reasons I describe: energy security, jobs, prosperity, is to call it out. When policies announced like this, or indeed the scrapping of policies like this, just makes no sense. In the same way as we should engage much more as business people in terms of making the argument as to why it is so important that driving progressive change like this is important for the future of our country. If you want to do more of that, please do join us at Vocal, the movement for progressive leaders. Thank you.